This video is one of those things I have learned over the years, and it is affecting a lot of people, including me. And I'm sure it is affecting you too, and that's why you are here. Most times the way we operate, the way we think, is as a result of what is going on in our mind. And this mind is divided into two: your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. I had to go and read about this, and what I learned is part of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Your conscious mind are the things you are actually aware of. They are the ones you can control. Immediately you gain control. They are the point where you get to decide to do something. But subconscious mind is behind your conscious mind, and the way it operates without your consent, but it operates from the residual knowledge you are having behind. That is why you see somebody that you don't want to see and you run away from the person without even thinking. That is why money enters your account and you go straight to that place you want to buy clothes without having a second thought of what you want to eat. But your conscious mind is when you get into that place you want to get a clothing and you begin to think again. Do I need to use this money to actually get these clothes? Or I should relax and plan properly. Your subconscious mind is what is coming to play when you meet with a guy that you've decided that you would never have to do anything with this person again. But you eventually meet yourself wrapped up in his hands because you couldn't control yourself emotionally. But after you've been able to meet with the person again in his hand, you begin to think again, how could I have done this again? And I think you're having a clearer perspective about how these two might operate. And for further reflection, I'm going to be walking you through how to reprogram your mind for a new life, how you can actually change the way you think, the way you feel, that will eventually reflect on the way you live your life. This is one thing that is very paramount to African homes, honestly. And I look far and beyond and realize that African home, religious, cultural orientation and perspective, they have done a lot of harm than good to us. Don't get me wrong, I am not ruling my religion as a Muslim, but these are the things that I've actually learned in my religion, in our culture, and in my society. And I'm going to walk you through the very first concept you need to understand about the power of mind. So, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through what the mind does, how the mind operates to actually reflect your reality, how you can identify your old programming, how you can replace limiting to elevating beliefs, and how you can actually reprogram your mind daily. And we're also going to be talking about the crucial steps you need to take when you're reprogramming your mind. So let's jump straight into the video. The first thing we need to understand is the power of mind. You see, your mind is the central control of your life. When you think something is good for you, it will be good for you. When you feel something is bad for you, it will be bad for you. When you feel this thing is difficult to achieve, it will be difficult. When you think this thing is easy to achieve, it will be easy for you. But the way you think about things is a reflection of your reality. The way you perceive situation is a reflection of your reality. The way you understand and interpret situation is going to be a reflection of your reality. That is why we have two distinct sections of people: the goal setters and the goal getters. The goal setters are the ones that just set goal, thinking that once they set it, it is going to come to life. While the goal getters believes and understand that we are setting this goal, but we also need to go get it. And by the journey of going to get it, a lot of things will happen. And they don't hesitate on moving heaven and earth to achieve that thing. Every decision, every habit and emotion begins with a thought. And I think one of these things I usually tell myself is that whatever is happening to you, try to understand your thoughts before you approach the situation. And This is something that affects our life generally in terms of our career, in terms of our business, in terms of our, our success story, our marriages. Because sometimes when we're trying to take a decision, when we're trying to maintain a particular habit, there is a thought behind it. I've been told that women are not bound to be successful, especially when they are under the influence of a man. That decision you're going to be taking, you will be operating from that thought. So I don't need to put in much work. Since I have a husband, I can actually be fine and I don't need the influence of any man. I don't need the influence of my effort again, just the man in place. Every emotion begins with a thought. The way you think about the situation will determine the kind of outcome you're going to be having in your life. Maybe because you try to have a business and it does not work the way you planned it to be, that does not mean it is bad for you. But you have actually put it in your head based on my thinking. It does not work, so what is the stress? So, because of that, your decision, your habit, your emotion begins to come from the reflection of that thought. And also, if your thoughts don't change, your life will not change either. You keep thinking about what has happened to you, using the same old story, using the same perspective, using the same situation to reflect on new things that are happening now. Your life will not change. And because of that, you're going to be living on mental autopilot because most people live on mental autopilot, repeating beliefs they never choose. And this is where the problems comes in. And this I'm going to dividing it into three core sections because most of the belief we are operating is the belief we never choose. And I talked about this in my transformation masterclass, which is Get Your Life on Track. It's available on my Telegram channel. And I'm going to put in the link in the description box below. That is understanding beliefs and rewiring your beliefs. Our beliefs are actually gotten in three different ways. The first one is societal belief. The second one is religious belief. And the third one is cultural beliefs. When we take a deeper look at our life, realize that these are the three main concepts that are rewiring the way we see things. Let's take it from the very first one, societal belief. In the society, there are certain notions about women that we are believed to be true. Not because that is the reality of life, but because that is the way people have choosing to analyze things. And it keeps going down from generation to generation. In the society, a woman have a age threshold. She has limitations to what she can do. She has limitations to opinions she can share. She has the kind of business she can do. But when we take a deeper look at this thing, is that actually the way life operates? Because in the society that we have limited women to become someone better, in this same society, we have women that are moving mountains and becoming better version of themselves without the influence of a man. And because of that, a lot of women have used that to sabotage their own growth. They believe when they are too successful, society will talk. They believe that when they leave a marriage, society will talk. When they decide to let go of a relationship, society will talk. When they are still a particular age without a job, society will talk. Societal belief is making us live in mental autopilot because we feel that because society has said this, as one does about this, we need to abide by this rule, and that is affecting our decision, our habit, our emotion, and affecting the way we actually live life generally. And the second belief is cultural belief. You said this one is about the kind of culture we belong to. We have the Hausas, the Igbos, and Yoruba. And when you look at each culture, we have the way we operate. As a typical African man, you need to be the man of the house. You need to be the control. You need to be the firmness that stands at the tip of every decision. As a typical African man, it is allowed for you to commit adultery. As a typical African man, you are allowed to tell your wife that this is what she should do, this is what she should not do. As a typical African man, you are subjected to choose any dream of your business, but your wife must dance to your tune. As a typical African man, you can decide to stay in your father's house and get married to a wife in that house without actually understanding how your wife is feeling. As a typical African man, you can decide that your job is being moved to Port Harcourt, and because of that, your wife has to leave the job she's doing here in Lagos and move to Port Harcourt with you. And when a woman now stands objecting that choice, we begin to mask, we begin to complain, we begin to nag, we begin to resent her because she is not abiding by the mental autopilot the society has instilled on us. And the third one, which is the belief we have actually been holding on to, is religious beliefs. You're a Christian, you're a Muslim. I'm going to be speaking based on my religion. And because I'm a Muslim does not mean we don't see these things or I don't address these things as made me. But because we want to be objective about our choices. During the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had a wife, Khadija. Khadija is a successful business woman without a husband. I'm going to be picking it from that angle. You, as a lady, you are not married yet, and you are being downcasted because you don't have a man, and you still feel that that is a normal belief you should conform to. When Khadija got married to Prophet Muhammad, Khadija handed over her things to Prophet Muhammad because he was trustworthy, and he was given the name Al-Hamin, the trustworthy. Now, you have a husband you are projecting to them. You've not even gotten married to him yet. And you know deep down that this guy is not good enough. Yet you still hand over your things to him. You are not following the footsteps of the early woman in Islam. So why do you still allow people to brainwash you, to make you feel that you're making the wrong decision? And when Khadija died, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not marry any wife until it was necessary for him. So what happened when you told your husband to be that you don't want a second wife and you still keep thinking you're making the wrong choice? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his daughter wanted to marry, and he told the husband that do not get a second wife on my daughter because he loves the daughter dearly and he knows exactly what is there when you have multiple wives in your house. And you think when you stand on the point that this is what I would actually want in my husband, you think you are wrong because the religious belief has made you believe that this is what you should do. It will tell you that a wife needs to let go of her, properties, her things, her business to be under the protection of the man. Is the man worthy to be in such possession? And I remember very well during the time I was very, I think, I don't want to forget the name, Umi Khatarta Hosso, I've forgotten her name, Astagfirullah. She is one of the successful businesswomen. The prophet actually told them to monitor how businesses are being made during the time of the early years. Why do you think they have been choosing to manage the business and the welfare of the market if they don't have the wisdom and knowledge? And you think you owning a company, a business, is something more than you should be looking for? So, these are the things that the society, our culture, our religion have interpreted in their own manner just to be able to confine us in an environment. And that is actually affecting our lifestyle. It's affecting our decision. In fact, it affected me until I got to understand that this is just a blindfold. And the more you keep listening to that, the harder it gets for you to actually live the life you are actually intentional about. When I wanted to live, I was looking for notions from people. When I leave, how will people see me? And everybody was telling me the same thing. You don't leave your marriage as a Muslim, married to somebody that is a good person, that is a big figure in the society. Imagine what they would call you. And as a Muslim, you don't say no in your marriage. Of course, you can say no. Not because I am telling you to say no in your marriage, because I want you to take a deeper look of your marriage and relationship. If it is worthy for you to still remain there, there are different notions to how a woman can actually live a life. But when you refuse to see the truth, when you refuse to be objective about your choices, the society, the culture, the religion will continue to blindfold you. Your mind is like a software. If you want a new experience, you must upgrade the program. The phone we were using back in 2005 is not what we are using now. What we are using now allows us to record, allows us to do a lot of things. But let's say we still keep using onto the phone we are using 5 years ago. Do you think we'll be able to achieve what we are achieving now? Some of us are actually living on autopilot. Nothing needs to be changed because we have not been able to sit down and think clearly about the choices we are making. People are there to talk. People are there to make up notions. People are there to bring up new ideas based on their own perspective, based on their own understanding, based on their own experience. But that does not mean that is exactly why or how you should live your life. And that will take me to the second notion about how to program your mind. That is identifying your old programming. There are certain things that has actually incorporated that is making us believe or live our life the way we are living it. And the first thing is that our beliefs are formed from childhood. And this is one thing I got to understand. Our experience, our culture, our religion, our relationship. And I'm going to break this down one after the other. From childhood, let's take a look at something. In my home when I was smaller, my dad, my mom, in the morning, we eat maybe rice and stew or food with stew. In the afternoon, we take something very small. Either we take, maybe the food we eat in the morning, we repeat it in the afternoon because we've gone to school. And primarily, we don't really have people waiting at us. We've all gone to work or gone to school. At night, we take swallow. And because of that, even up till now, when I want to eat at night, I still choose swallow. And if I'm eating rice or eating yam, a part of me feels like I think swallow is actually better. It is not because swallow is better, but because from childhood we have been wired to that. And we actually choose that because that's what we've been exposed to. And that is actually one of the things I talked about in my upcoming book, inshallah, very soon. That is the cycle of life. Most of the things we are doing now, we have been subjected to it. We're born into it. Most of the habits we are inculcating now, they are the habits of those that have been in this world before us. Our surname have been existing for the past 10 years. Our lineage have been existing for the past 10 years. So one way or the other, we are born into that habit and we begin to get shaped into that lifestyle. Our experience, most times, whatever happens to us determines how intense it will be. For a woman that have been under the influence of a man that keeps subjecting her to a lot of things, she would always tell her children that you don't listen to a man. A man is not worthy of your trust. And children under that custody will begin to raise, will begin to grow with that notion because it has been subjected to them. They have been wired, they have been nurtured under that influence. People are going to make mistakes because a man duped you or make you feel bad. Does not mean your children are not going to be meeting the very best version of men out there. But sometimes the experience we had, some people, some men will say that females are so bad because they lie a lot and they duped me. And because of that, I have to make sure all my females are under my custody. All my wives need to listen to what I'm saying, either they like it or not. And when they nurture a male child, the male child grows with that ideology. And before you know it, the guy becomes a narcissist. He becomes a bad influence to his wife. He does not listen to his wife because his father has instilled in him based on his own experience to make him believe that this is the way it should be. No, we operate life from the angle of not being objective about our choices, of not understanding why some things are so. And I mentioned this in my ebook, Reprogram Mindset and Information. You don't just abide by societal norms, you question why, and you begin to build your own belief system. By culture, most of our culture as African men, we believe that this is how things should be. As a lady, you get married at a particular age, and when you don't marry at that age, something is wrong with you. And when your husband says, don't go anywhere, you have to be there. If your husband does not like you putting on wet clothes, you have to succumb to it. If your husband says he's traveling to Port Harcourt for 4 months, you need to understand that he is a man, he needs to feed the family. And because of that, you are the wife, you should listen to every house and whatever he says. What about me? What about the wife? How does she feel? What about the woman? How does she feel? What about everything about what about how she wants somebody to be close to her? But because we believe that is the culture, that is the habit, and the religion, we believe that as a Muslim lady, a man can get married to multiple wives. And because of that, you need to understand. Truly, it is sunnah that a man can get married to multiple wives. But what happens to the clause of if you can be just? What happened to the clause of you are not okay, financially, you are not fit, spiritually, you are not fit, mentally, you are not fit. Maybe the first wife, we are not even comfortable. Sometimes we fail to address the elephant in the room. We only address situation based on the little thing we are seeing or hearing. And those that don't understand the deen, they fall victim. And one thing you can do for yourself as a Muslim lady is to understand the religion bluntly before you even let anybody decide for you. I had to go down and research how a female should dress, and it contains three notions in the Quran. A dressing must be lengthy to cover the most important part. A dressing must cover a private part, and a dressing must be beautiful. So, who told you a Muslim woman should not put on beautiful dresses? Who told you a Muslim lady should not put on the best and blessed of her clothing? Who told you your clothing should not be well beautified enough? And who told you you can't put on whatever or however you feel like dressing just to maintain that modesty? And we keep brainwashing. Somebody saying as a Muslim lady, and because of this, my mom told me this. We just rant based on different notions of people without understanding how things should be. And also relationship. The kind of relationship we have actually give us some kind of old programming. Maybe because I'm the one that have been wired, I've been always been meeting men that are not emotionally available. Don't you think that there is a part of you that is too attached to somebody? If you keep attracting men that are unavailable to you, maybe there is something about you that needs to be worked on. Maybe you are the type of person that likes attaching yourself too much to a man. Or maybe you are the type of person that don't actually have a career of your own. Maybe you are somebody that don't even have intention about your life. Sometimes whatever happens to us is drawing our attention back to something that needs to be fixed in our own life. But because we are only judging by what we are seeing, we are only smiling at the men. And maybe the pain that has happened to us, sometimes how intense something is determine the blueprint we get. If something is so painful to us, we tend to have a strong conviction about things. For example, I remember then when I left my ex-husband, I would tell to myself, wow, I would never and never get married to a man that the mother and the father are separated. Do you know the beauty? Okay, now, my children, myself and the father are separated. What kind of belief am I transferring to those children? It shows that when my children wants to get married, nobody will get married to them. Sometimes one way or the other, there are the ways we think about things that is actually affecting us. But because we are failing to meet with the objective part of our life, we fail to actually acknowledge things for what it is. And I figured that it is not because I got married to a guy that his parents are not together, but because this guy could not actually heal the broken parts of him and he eventually became a narcissist. What I could actually say there is that getting married to a narcissist is not a good thing. Either it's from a broken home or it's not. Because we have guy, we have men, we have female that are from home that is not good and they are able to become a better version of themselves. So why do I have to resent everybody that falls under the umbrella of coming from a broken home? What if the person eventually become better? Is a good result from a broken home. But I figured that it is because I was feeling so bad that I could not see what this guy is about before I step into a relationship with him. But the problem I have is actually with the guy, not with everybody that comes from a broken home. We need to be objective about the way we choose things. These beliefs become invisible and rules that shape our life. And of all this now begin to turn them into rules. As an African man, he needs to live like this. A man must travel, go far, wide, and beyond to look for better source of income. Truly, that's the reality. But what happens to me? I can also decide to build intentional life about myself. I can also decide to create something beautiful. Because a man is the head of the house does not mean I can't also create something better. I can have a business of my own. I can have a career of my own, not because you told me not to do something, because I actually want to do this thing. So we begin to coin up rules and regulation based on the orientation of people. And some of this old programming can be I am not enough. And during that time, I was something was mentioned to me when I was small, and that is when my sister would always tell me, I don't have manner of approach. I don't have a good way to talk about things. I don't know how to persuade people to do this. And because of that, when I want to talk to somebody, I always feel withdrawn because I would be like, what if they tell me I don't have a good manner of approach? And because of that, my younger brother, whenever I say something to him, he would not actually believe me. He would just say it as, there's a way he responds to whatever I say. And I always tell myself that, well, I am not enough to tell him something, or because I don't have a good manner of approach. But do you know the beauty is that because somebody said you don't have a good manner of approach, does not mean you don't have a good manner of approach to somebody else. You might not have a good manner of approach to them because of their insecurity issues, because of their mindset, because they see that you are seeing a part of them that they have been denying for so long, and you are able to paint it red to their face that this is the kind of person they are. Or maybe one way or the other, there are certain adjustments you need to make. And the adjustment you're making is not just for yourself, but because they want something. People are always trying to rub off their own insecurities on other people's faces. So maybe you just need a little adjustment to be able to help you become better, not for them, but for you. And I figure that most of us, since our childhood or since maybe relationship or career or business, we always go on with this orientation that we are not good enough. And that is actually blindfolding us and sabotaging us from taking some decisions that are actually best for us. Or the thought of good things don't last. A lot of these notions were actually popping up in my head when I was thinking that why is it that when I come across something better, they don't last? They won't last if they are not actually meant for you. You can come across the very best thing you could ever imagine, but it might not be good for you. Sometimes we need to be objective about the way we decide these things, the way we actually perceive situations. Something might be good, but it might not be good for you. Something might be at a peak, but it might not be at the peak for you. Something might be so extraordinary, but it might not be the extraordinary for you. That is why we have our unique identity. We have that identity that we are projecting to the universe, or people always live. And I think I was telling myself then that why is it that everybody gets to live? When I think I'm holding on to somebody that is at least enabling me to see the very best version of myself, why do they live? They are living because they are not meant to be with you forever. They are living because you need to have a life within yourself you can also call a home. Maybe the reason why people are living is because there is something in yourself that needs to be attended to. There is something within you that you are neglecting. There is something you are still holding on to that you need to work on within yourself. Sometimes when we feel we are attracting some people into our life, these people are actually a reflection of the kind of thing we have within us that needs to be worked on. Or I can't start over at my age. And I think I've told myself multiple times that starting over is an opportunity for you to see things again. And I shared this on my previous video, Starting Over in Life, how you can actually allow yourself to see things differently, to do things differently, and become a better version of yourself. These beliefs keeps repeating the same cycle even when you want better. And I talked about this in my training, which is available on my Telegram channel, Get Your Life on Track. When your mind is clogged, you don't reprogram it, it keeps affecting your reality. So you need to understand your repeating pattern and the gaps and pattern you've been exploring so far. So it can be in love, about money, about confidence, about peace. And you need to keep asking yourself, what belief might be causing this pattern? Because awareness is the first step to transformation. Just like you can't heal what you are still not identifying. Now that we have all that cleared by the way, how do you actually reprogram your mind? The first thing is to challenge and replace limited belief. Every belief can be reprogrammed, just like the phone and software we are using. Sometimes we feel that we have been wired to a particular notion, but when you don't upgrade your software, it keeps being the same. Imagine the kind of picture we are taking 5 years ago to the type of picture we are taking now. Imagine the kind of life we are living 10 years ago to the type of life we are living now. If everything had not been reprogrammed, restructured, we wouldn't be where we are now. And the same thing is applicable to your life. You need to keep allowing yourself to get reprogrammed every now and then. The mind doesn't care what is true, but it keeps responding to what you are feeding it with and what feels familiar. Your mind is not actually caught up with what is not entirely true, but what you keep telling it to be true. So change your life. To change your life, you must make a new thought familiar. You need to catch your old thought. I'm not good enough. I can't do this alone. I can't stand on my own. I can't have a life of my own. You need to replace it with I am learning. I am growing and I am capable. And you keep repeating this to yourself until it feels familiar. And also, you need to build new mental habits. And that is because transformation happens through repetition, not motivation. You're not going to be motivated every now and then, but whatever you keep repeating becomes your habit and begins to reflect on your future. What you do, what you think daily becomes your identity. Because sometimes we feel we are actually becoming better, but what we are doing, what we are thinking is not the same. We need to reprogram our mind consciously by feeding our mind with thoughts and patterns that support our new self. And you can actually do this by daily morning affirmation to keep telling yourself. You need to align it with your identity and also create a visual reflection of yourself in future years, in later years. Where do you see yourself? What kind of woman are you actually becoming? What kind of life are you actually having? What kind of reflection do you want to have on daily basis? And you can also journal your negative experiences. Either you are thinking about this thing in this manner, or you are beginning to doubt yourself about becoming the very best version of you. You can actually journal them and begin to counter it with positive thoughts. Your mind will believe whatever you tell it most often. And also, you need to detox your environment and input. You see, the kind of environment you live in is a reflection of the kind of life you are living. You can't reprogram your life while living in toxic environments. The kind of people you mingle with, the conversations you have, the kind of social media pages you follow, the kind of friends you keep, the kind of house you live, the kind of job you do, the kind of food you consume, the kind of clothes you put on. Everything indirectly connects to your reality. Surround yourself with growth driven people, people that contribute to your growth on your social media pages. Who are those people you follow? What are those people? What are those contents you consume? I've seen some people that would say they want growth, and every day what they do is just the opposite of the kind of life they would have actually wanted in the first place. And by doing so, you keep spinning, you keep spiraling at a spot without actually seeing any change come up. And also be intentional about what you allow in. You see, every people is not supposed to have a seat in your life. Every people you meet, every content, every relationship is not meant to be taken when you are intentional about your choices. You need to give yourself reasons you are accepting some people into your life. When people are not meeting up to the standard of the future you, then you need to let them go without having a second thought. Replace noise with chaos. And I know some people, or most of us, that we think we are looking for ease, calmness, and every day we are just so surrounded by a lot of noise, and it blinds us from listening to ourselves. And one of the ways you can actually put your life on track is to allow yourself to see that awareness. And I mentioned this in one of the book I wrote, which is the self book. That is your self perception, what you have within yourself that is contributing to that growth you want. And also, you need to shift from victim to creator. You see, many people unconsciously live as victim because I don't have this thing, I don't have money, I don't have a family that is wealthy, I don't have people around me that can support me. There are so many people out there that don't even have up to what you have within you, and they are able to move mountain. Have you tried to take a look at successful people out there and learn through their story how they are able to become better versions of themselves? They are able to do this out of having nothing. You said you want money, you want to be financially stable, and you don't even have a job because you think that the salary they are giving them is too small. It might be too small, but it is a starting point for you to actually become better. Taking that step will take you to the next one. Truly, we are in Nigeria. Some notions might not be working for us, but still in Nigeria, there are so many things we can do that we also have the power to control and contain. And I think I watched this video about Victim to Hero League by Robin Sharma. He mentioned that whatever has happened to you, you are bound to make two distinct choices. Either you become the victim or you become the hero. And which one do you think is best for your growth? Without thinking much, I think becoming the hero is how you can actually take charge of your life. But you keep thinking you don't have the opportunity, you don't have the advantage. Why don't you create one for yourself? Instead of scrolling on social media without actually having a purpose, going, nagging, complaining, have you for once think about how better your life would become when you just take charge for once? Give yourself the power. Reprogramming means shifting from victim mode to becoming the creator mode, taking responsibility for how you respond, take responsibility for your life. Not just because you have everything figured out, but because you believe that you can actually make your life better by thinking differently. And there are so many books that back this up. Think and Grow Rich, the power of tiny habits and the likes of them. A lot of things you feel they are so inconsequential, but it all starts from you taking charge of your life. You might not control what happened, but you can control what happened next. Once I'm done recording this video, I might not be able to control how the video reacts to the algorithm, but I can still choose to record more, to also still work on my books, because I believe that one day this is going to get to the people I am actually sending the message to. And yesterday, last month, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, this is not where I was. And out of navigating through the path, I am doubting. I am not doubting. I have second thoughts. I still choose to move. I still choose to grow. And that is how you can actually begin to reprogram your mind to live an intentional life. When you own your response, you gain the power. You need to give yourself the power to become better. I am no longer a victim of my past. I am the author of my next chapter. And there is one thing I told myself: do not be a victim of your circumstance. Everybody have their own story. We have all been restricted by one notion or the other. I have a lot of beliefs from my family, from my culture, from my religion, from the society I belong in. But when you keep holding on to these things, you will fail to see the beautiful aspect of your life. Also, you need to align your actions with your new mindset. You see, thoughts alone cannot change your life. In fact, you need to align your action with those thoughts you are having. And there are some of us that we actually tell ourselves, I want to become this person. Okay, in 6 months, I want to get accommodation, a single room for a start with toilet and kitchen. Okay, this is January, and you set the goal for June or July, highest. Okay, how do you intend to get the money to get the accommodation? I have a business idea. I think I'm going to be writing some ebook and sell. Okay. That ebook you want to write, what knowledge do you have about it? Oh, I'm going to go to AI and it's going to give me some prompts. Okay. What result do you want people to get from it? Okay. How many weeks are you going to use to write? How do you want to advertise? How do you want to get people to buy what you're selling? And do you think that ebook idea can transform your life overnight? Of course, it can. That is when the necessary measures are being put in place. Oh, well, I think I'm going to just write the ebook and sell. Do you think that idea alone will take you to where you are going in 6 months? And also, in 6 months, what if you get a job to add up to what you have? At least the job can still give you a consistent, stable salary. You know, I am not telling you to accept to settle. I am telling you to accept to build. You might be thinking that you want life in a different direction, but thinking alone will not take you to where you are going. But aligned action to that thought is what will bring out your reality. Start behaving like the person you are becoming, even before you fully believe it. And I remember I would tell myself, I want to become a coach, I want to be a transformation coach, I want to write books, I want to write training, I want to have a channel. And by that, I will picture in my head what kind of clothing will I put on, how will I walk up to the stage, how will I communicate with people, how will I address people, how will I introduce myself. And by so doing, one way or the other, my mind started bringing up different ways to begin to put this in place. I would go on social media pages. I would search for transformation. I would search for growth. And by so doing, you know, the algorithm of social media, once you interact with a particular channel or a page, they start bringing suggestions like that page. They start bringing pages to your screen, like what you have searched or interacted with. And because you are actually behaving like something, it is not a matter of faking it before you make it. You are acting it based on your belief. If your new mindset says, I am confident, then start behaving like somebody that is actually confident enough. Start behaving like someone that believes in herself. Start behaving like someone that understands where she's going, not just somebody that keeps dabbling in and dabbling out. Acting differently enforces you to new belief system. And I think at a point in time, I would take my book, journal, write, do a lot of things until every day it became my habit. And every day, once I wake up, something will just remind me, what are those things you need to do today? When I'm going to bed at night, something will remind me again, okay, what are you doing this night? What are those things you should have done that you have not done? And before you know it, when you look at your life within the space of 6 months, you will know you are not the same. Something has shifted. And the last one, which is very important, is patience for the progress. You see, reprogramming takes time. That change you are looking for within you will take time. It takes time. In fact, you'll be so surprised that sometimes you may slip into old pattern. Your brain is literally creating new neural pathways. You know, your brain are just bunch of wires and cables connected, just like you have bunch of wires and cables connected to your system or to your machine. And something is wrong with one. Now, when you are trying to fix it, you just try to fix it at once. No, you're going to tamper with the things that you're not even supposed to get into. But you begin to unclog it gradually until you are able to get to the place of where the problem actually lies. And that's just it with our life. We might slip into old patterns. We might thinking that, oh, we already have this thing figured out. And one way or the other, we make mistakes, we fall out, we fall short. It is actually normal for you to have relapse. But what happens? You don't quit. Repetition creates mastery. There are going to be detours. There are going to be setbacks. There are going to be mistakes again. But what do? You recommit to the show. You recommit back to where you are going to. Not because you want to be perfect, but because you are a human being that is taking consistent, imperfect steps. And when you look back at it, I realize that you are far gone from where you used to be. You want to wake up changed in one day. Of course, you can actually change in one day, but that is actually the sum total of how you have actually been navigating your life so far. But one day you will wake up and realize you are no longer the same. As at last month, I was looking at my book, some of my journals, and I was looking at year 2024 when I was at my sister's place planning my accommodation. I remembered how I had a plan to get two-bedroom flat. Then I decided to move it back to room and parlor self-contained. Then I said that I'm moving out of Ikola, moving down to Ikorodu. Then I was able to open the pages, how I was planning and thinking, and how I was acting based on the results I am getting till I'm able to get it. When I got here last year, my mind is to write the book on organics until when I was writing in a particular section where I got to where to motivate them to continue to try and put effort. And I figured that that chapter that I was writing was what led me to realizing that I can actually write for women that wants to become better. So, your growth is going to be that after a while, taking steps consistently, realize that some things has changed. Not entirely, but you are not actually where you used to be. And that place you have left behind is creating a massive difference shift in your life. You can rebuild your life, but first you must rebuild your mind. You can change your story. You can change every single aspect of your life, but your mind needs to come to the picture. And I really talked about this in my paid masterclass, Get Your Life on Track. On day two, we talked about changing your mind, building the right mindset, the fixed mindset to the growth mindset, recognizing gaps and patterns, and how you can rewire your belief to help you become a better version of yourself. You need to stop replaying the old story. Everything you've been told is not entirely your fault. Because one way or the other, we were born into this system. One way or the other, we were nurtured, we were told to believe this thing. And truly, there is no way we can actually run away from it. But as we begin to grow older, we begin to realize that these things are not actually working and things needs to be done differently. Stop feeding the old fears. Understand that whatever you confront is what you will acknowledge. And if you don't acknowledge, you won't be able to confront it. And if you don't see things for what they are, you're going to be trapped. Your mind becomes what you feed it with. When you feed your mind with positivity, you will continue to see positive. Even when you are filled with negative, there is one way or the other, your mind is still going to find a way back to make you understand that there is still good things in bad things. And so feed it with the truth, with faith and possibility. And remember, there is no way you will get there if you still keep holding on to things that does not belong there. Only when you are able to let go of the things that does not belong there can you actually get there. And the reality is that your mind is the central focus of every aspect of your reality. On a weekly basis, I share transformation content like this. And I also have a Telegram channel for aspiring women like you and I to become a better version of ourselves. Join the community, and I'm going to be seeing you in my next. Bye.